Hey everybody, Chris Lindsay here, and you're listening to Pitch List. Join us on a deep dive into the heart of what makes writing songs and making music so magical. Let's find out what makes songwriters tick, and along the way, remember why we love music. Welcome to Pitch List. Hey everybody, this is Chris Lindsay, and you're listening to Pitch List. Okay, we've been working on this one for a long time. Dana has been chasing him for a couple of seasons. And if there has ever been a more successful writer on Music Row, I don't know who it would be. He has amassed a staggering amount of number one records, 50. 50. That's more number ones than any other writer of any genre. This Kentucky native has won ASCAP Writer of the Year 8 times in a row. He currently has 6 songs on the country charts. 6. By now, I'm sure you know who I'm talking about. So I hope you enjoy my interview with Ashley Gorley. Good morning. I'm really excited this morning. I've waited a long time to talk to this guy. Without any further ado, our guest this morning is Ashley Gorley. How you doing, Ashley?
Hey, good, man. How are you? Good morning. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you, man. So great to have you. We're on our 4th season of our podcast, and
Wow.
Every season we've done, I think this is maybe our 56th or 7th show. From the beginning, you are the number one requested writer from people who listen to the podcast that they want to hear. Yes. And
that must be a computer glitch there. I don't know about that.
Probably not. Probably not. So again, thank you for doing the show, and really appreciate it, man.
Yeah, no problem.
I was thinking this morning, because I was reviewing your stats last night and this morning early, and I guess my first question to you is, what the hell? I'm kidding. No, I'm not.
Funny. Yeah, that's
but
awesome.
That's my first question. What the hell? What's happening over there? What's going on? How does this work? What are you doing? I saw a statistic that you have now written 50 number ones. You may have surpassed that. I think you might have, but no one in any other genre has done that. Is that correct?
That's what I've been told. I haven't done the research, but yeah, 51 right now. But also it's very obviously people have written more important songs that went to number, who knows what, so I always take that with a grain of salt as far as number ones and stats and things like that. So as long as I'm able to work with artists and hopefully take them from, point A to point B where they want to go, then that's kind of what I base it on usually.
Is that one of your key operating factors, is what does the artist need? Let me help them get that.
Yeah, I think so. And not too scientific, but I think it kind of helps me that I am not, you're never going to see an EP of me singing or playing. I've never been in a band. I've always wanted to be that person behind the scenes, helping people get, the next song they need, whether it's in their set, their show, their album, something that'll get a reaction. And I just love songs. I've always been in love with all genres and all songs, and always been intrigued kind of by the mystery of why is this everybody's favorite song? And I've always tried to, I kind of try to write that way, write a song that I think could be somebody's favorite song for whatever reason. And I'm very fortunate to work with a lot of different people. I kind of need variety. So I like working with somebody different all the time, whether it's directly with an artist or just with co-writers. And in other words, I've had no agenda but that, kind of the whole time. So I'm kind of good at getting out of the way and helping them say what they want to say usually.
That's great, man. Well, we got to circle back, because you said something really fascinating to me. What makes a song someone's favorite song? What are some elements you've identified of that? I mean, do you have some ideas about that you could share with us?
Yeah, I mean, they're all different, so it depends on the idea. The reason I fell in love with country music, I didn't grow up entrenched in country music or even actually playing instruments or anything like that. I grew up, you know, being an MTV junkie, and I always loved countdowns. I'm like, why is this song number 18? What does that even mean? You know, and what is this? Why is this song? Why do I want to listen to this song every hour? You know, or why is everybody loving this? And why does it sound like that? And why is it so awesome? You know, so I mean, just kind of the raw desire to figure out what makes that tick, and then, you know, what makes a song actually be somebody's favorite, you know, for whatever reason. And not that I'm just trying to make, you know, music for a certain group of people or anything like that, but just coming up, you know, I also DJ'd and did like hip hop R&B tracks all through like middle school and high school. And I was always making playlists and all that stuff before it was so easy to do like it is now with the DSPs and everything, where everybody's got a playlist. But I was always DJing the dances and parties and watching, seeing the reaction, you know, the people would have to songs. Even like, you know, in 5th grade, 6th grade, 7th grade, I was just fascinated with all that. And I would try to put together a list that if we were just hanging out, it'd be playing in the background and it would be great, you know, like the great kind of mood setter. And I kind of thought I'd be on that side of it somehow, of the business, producing or A&R. Once I figured out what that is, then I really figured I would go that way, and then started, you know, trying to write once I came to Nashville, and fell in love with country and everything that you can talk about in country music, and the lyric part of it also. But I was always very, you know, melodic, not like I can't sing, can't play great, anything like that. But I was really hooked on, you know, pop melodies and R&B and the cadence and rhythms of all that stuff in hip hop. So I think sometimes with country, when I first moved to town, I know that it was much more lyrical. And then I was always trying to push the melodic envelope a little bit, you know, and make sure that, hey, the verse has a great melody too, and the pre has a great melody. So I kind of combined all that, coming from a small town and farming and everything that comes along with that. I've done all the stuff in country songs, so I feel like I knew that language really well, but I also knew, you know, just like you know, a lot of pop and R&B and things like that, to where it became a good blend of both, and it became really catchy and also you know, well written lyrically too. So I try to kind of sit in that space. You know, I get really, really picky on melodies and phrasing and stuff like that.
That's really fascinating, man. So I'm still circling back because it's kind of blowing my mind.
I have a weird you know, circle.
I love it. I'm really learning something. So I'm thinking what you're saying there is, from a young age, you sort of studied how music affected people, like certain pop music.
Like, why is this?
Yeah, right.
Why is this Belle Biv DeVoe song so freaking awesome? And it would be a combination, you know. And then the older I got, the more I was like, oh, because this production sounds great. Who produced this? And then I would start to look it up. I'd be like, Babyface wrote all these songs. Like, I didn't know that. You know, I didn't know people besides the artist wrote the songs. And then once you know, that was kind of like, I just went for it after that. Once I started discovering that a lot of the same people wrote songs I loved, I never even put that together, you know, till I was 13, 14, 15, 16, and then started really being fascinated by that. You know, it's like, oh, this person wrote this song for Boyz II Men with another guy, you know, and then they sing it amazing. Then I see who played or who produced it or whatever, and started putting all that together. And then I started realizing, okay, this is like a process to make these songs have the right emotion and hit people a certain way. And then I just really think about all that kind of when I'm in a writing session, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And you also said that you're kind of a stickler for melody.
Yeah.
Or making it interesting.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Like I love the pop process, like even the Swedish pop melodic system, like all that stuff is kind of locked in my brain. So I kind of use all that, from like the Babyface, Teddy Riley, New Jack Swing rhythmic thing to like the Max Martin kind of like making sure that everything has a place and it's not just randomly thrown out there. And then also to my favorite country songwriters ever, and the lyrics and the ideas that come with that. So I think for some reason that's what's worked, is just the combination of, again, not copying any of those people, but just having a background of loving all those different processes has, you know, led to these hits, I guess.
Yeah, no. And it's not copying. It's, I mean, even the Beatles, most of the songs they talk about that we all love that they wrote, they were aiming for something.
Right. Yeah.
And probably more the way that song made them feel than, you know, I think that's a smart way to go about it.
And I've always loved like, hey, what about a really, really country lyric or this type of production mixed with
Right.
this type of melody, and then would love what would come out of that, especially kind of when I started having more of like a run where I'd have like multiple hits was, like 2013 kind of on. I had some before that, and they were really lyrical, like they'd be just something that I think could affect you emotionally or whatever. In the beginning I was just, I'm more of a piano player than a guitar player, so I had to get a guitar, so I quit writing ballads. Ballads are just the best. You can't beat like an amazing love song. And then I started writing about, real things once I got to Nashville, and kids, and talking about God, and talking about your dad, and talking about the way, you grow up and stuff like that. And that's where I really fell in love with the ability to do that with country music. But I would always try to never sacrifice the melody for that. And I think that's what ended up kind of standing out after a while.
What part of the process do you think you do best? And I'm sure because you're a pure writer, like you said, you don't plan on making your own records. You're not going to do
right.
So I'm guessing that you're going to answer that you kind of do most of it well, because you kind of have to, depending on who you're co-writing with. But if you had one strength more than the other, what would you think it would be?
Yeah, I mean, when I moved to Nashville, I remember, I almost moved to LA after I was here for a little bit, because I mean, I know you do as well, but like just love pop music and the different melodic chances you can take with that and the different kinds of production. The box is just kind of bigger. So almost did that, but I didn't want to give up on the Nashville, like, lyric content and what that can be about. I just really loved that, and loved, the reaction that country songs got. But when I first started writing, I remember people saying like, hey, if you're in Nashville, you got to be able to do it all. And I just thought that was the rule, so I would make sure I could sing a scratch vocal, even though I'm not a singer. I'd be like, hey, the phrasing has to be like this, and the melody needs to be just like this, but the lyric needs to line up just like this, and the syllables should be like this. So yeah, I always thought I had to do all of it well. I never tried to, like, I can't play a guitar solo, so certain things like that I just cut out of the vocabulary. Like, okay, I'm never going to do that. I'm hiring a guy to do that. Or playing drums and stuff. But I would always have enough of a grasp on all of it to be able to produce, demos and things like that. So I don't know. I mean, I think the melodies make, I wouldn't consider myself a lyrical genius. Like, I don't have a book of poetry sitting around. But I think the prosody, or whatever the word is, where you kind of combine the melody and lyric, is what I'm good at. Sometimes, I guess. So,
yeah.
I mean, I would say, yeah, not like, oh, I can do it all, but definitely when I write, if I write a lyric, usually a melody comes with it at the same time. So I'm not one of those that lay out an entire, here's the melody, and then try to make up words to it. It's usually
okay. So you kind of work, it comes together for you.
Yeah, usually it's this, like, if it's like, oh, an idea, like if we land on an idea, say we're brainstorming for an hour or two, and then like this idea pops out, then I usually can immediately go to the piano, or just out loud a cappella, whatever, like a melody and lyric would happen at the same time. There's been several hits where the first thing I play ends up being kind of what it is, top to bottom. Like, I'll write 80% of the song in 5 or 10 minutes, and then spend the next 100 hours chipping away at making it all line up right, the rest of it. But I'm one of those that, if I don't capture it, which thank God you can record things now on the fly. Like, if it was way back in the day, I would not have done very well, because I also don't have a good memory. So I'll maybe hit on something and kind of yell out what I think the whole song should be, if that makes sense. With dummy words and mumbling. And then I always try to push and see the light at the end of the tunnel. I'm not great at like top down, like where, oh, let's just start with this one line. It's like, oh, it could go like this, and I'll run it all the way to the end and then fill it all in. Or I'll just throw it away and start another, whole vibe for it, if that makes sense. But I usually have to have a mic going, and a lot of times I write on the microphone, not like with a pad and paper.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm borrowing my daughter's computer right now to do this. I don't even use a computer. It's usually just all in my phone and notes. So a lot of times I feel like the magic kind of happens in one kind of bolt of lightning, and I have to capture that all at once. So it really, the process of more like kind of track writing and studio writing, like they were doing in pop music. I always wanted Nashville to do a little bit, more of that. So you feel like you're making the actual record in the room right there. I always enjoyed that process more than like writing it kind of on guitar and then going and demoing it a month later and all of that stuff. So once it kind of transitioned to doing everything on the spot, it played into my skill set more because I could capture everything quicker.
And you know what? I think you're right, man. I mean, my experience, the real magic of a song, it often flies out pretty quick, 10 minutes. There's a lot of talking that's going on. There's a lot of other stuff happening in the writer's room, but the actual core of it it's often very quick like that, isn't it?
It is. Yeah. And I'm not one to sit down and I tell my, I've got several writers signed, to my company, and I kind of teach them this too, but like to just sit down and start strumming a guitar and then start singing something, I don't really do it that way. I may do that on piano because I can change keys quick and stuff like that. But a lot of times it's, like just a cappella, just out loud. Oh, what if it went like this? Or like if somebody has a bed of music, like a little track going, nothing too complicated, but a simple vibe, and it goes with the idea, then we can just, kind of go on that back and pass the mic back and forth. Like when I get with somebody else that functions that way, then I seem to do really well. Like the other artists that kind of just go for it, that are as ADD as I am and will chase a million things all at once and then finally land on the thing everybody loves. Then that's probably my best working scenario.
Now, if you're in a writer's room, will you bounce around with different titles and different ideas?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Because sometimes people don't like that. Some writers.
No, a lot of people don't like the whole style I do. I've definitely worked with artists and even had like a number one on them and then not written with them again.
Because that seems crazy.
I talk a lot and like really like, oh, I'm hearing this right now. Let me do this real quick. And kind of get, I have to walk around the room. I have to do, a lot of times I'll write a whole song and then I feel like that was the warm up. Like the song's like a B.
Yeah.
And then I've had several hits where they're the second song of the day, because once everybody's like kind of comfortable, it's like, okay, that song was okay, but I bet we could do better. So I'm always challenging, like, myself and everybody in the room, like, yeah, that was pretty good, but we're not going to go home yet. Let's go one more level past that and just see what pops out. And I think that happens a lot. Like I'm probably notorious for like, all right, the song's done. Everybody's probably ready to go home. And I'm like, no, we need to just hang for like 30 more minutes and just yell out whatever comes to everybody's brain. And a lot of magic, I think, comes out of that. So that's where I kind of started writing a couple songs, a day in a session, especially when the vibe is there and it's going well. And I really like chasing that. My favorite scenario is to kind of binge on, be with somebody or a group of people for like 2 days, 2 or 3 days instead of a 3-hour quick slot. I'd prefer the little camps. And I want it to feel like I'm in high school or college where, we have a place out here, kind of a farm out here where I live. The studio's in the back of the property and it has a little, kind of a little mini apartment attached to it. So people will come out and spend the night, where we all feel like even if we're just writing a song for somebody else, I like it to feel like we're all in a band, living together and kind of talking life and all that kind of stuff. So I like those extended camps or bus runs with artists and stuff like that, because then I feel like I can really get inside somebody's head and take something to the next level.
Love it, man. I've been in a lot of rooms where people get uncomfortable when you want to switch. You might be working on something and then a line comes out and a better title comes.
Oh, I would say
they don't want to go. They don't want to go. And it's like, hey, don't.
I'd say 75% of the time I do that, which does drive people crazy, because the first thing is usually pretty, it doesn't suck, right? So it's not like,
right.
Some people are like, why are we stopping this one? I'm like, because there's something better.
Right.
We can start. And there's several people, and I started clicking with groups of co-writers that almost love the idea of like, even several times I remember when Chris Stefano came to town and we were working on pop stuff in LA, and then he moved to Nashville. And we would love to like work on something, spend 5 hours on it, listen back to it, and then say, that's not good enough. Delete the entire session. Like, just to like get it out of our head. And people, it makes people cry, but it's like, we know that's not good enough. And then that next one that we dig into ends up being the hit, just to like not settle.
It's such great. It's great advice, man. And then I'll tell you something similar we used to do. Amy came up with this. She called it the 15-minute song, When the
Oh
writing
yeah,
session
I do
was
that too.
over.
I do that every time. Yes,
When it
every.
was over and people start packing up their guitars, she'll go, let's do a song in 10 minutes or 15 minutes. And they're like,
That's
what?
funny. Yes,
And
I
you
would.
can't stop. And the rule is you can't stop. You can't edit. You're going to write a verse. I'm going to write a verse. And then we're going to go. Let's go. And
Yeah,
then
yeah.
almost every time that song's better than the one we just spent 5 hours
That's
on.
what I think too, and I do think that's. I didn't know she did that, but that's definitely a secret if you can learn that. And I tell my guys that too. I think that's really fun to stop thinking at the end.
Yeah.
You know. So my
you're
goal
not
is never.
thinking.
Yeah, and the goal is never to get a song finished. I think that's a mistake, people make when they come to town. It's like, oh, I finished this song. It's correct. It's like, okay, so did like 500 other people today. So what are we going to do that would make anybody care about this song?
Right.
And then, a lot of times it's that second one. And sometimes it's like you said, it's a 10-minute song, but then we get back on it, maybe another session or spend the rest of the night, working on it, whittling it away to try to make it as perfect as we can. But yeah, I love the energy of just like, bam, just going for it right there. Almost like you set a timer, like you said, for 10, 15 minutes and try to get all the way to the end.
Because
I've got to have those parameters,
It gets, I think what it does is it gets you out of the way. It you can't write it anymore. Because like you said, you can make a song perfect. There were 500 other written that day. That's right. And you need a magic song, man. You don't need a good song. And magic's really a different animal. You can't really work your way into magic, in my opinion. You can't. And
no. But you can find it. You can put in the time to let it happen and to find it. And I do tend to do that. And I do ask questions throughout like when we finish a song, I'll be like, okay, why do I care about that? Why does anybody care about this song? Like why would somebody leave it on the station? Why would somebody put it in their set? And that is a thing. Also, especially in country music, the live show is what makes it go around. I know everybody's dying to get back to that, hopefully this summer. But when I started going out with artists on the road and watching the set, then I started kind of writing from more of a perspective of like, okay, if I was the artist, what would I want to play? If I was in the band, what would I love? If I was in the studio, we were cutting this song, would it be boring? So I kind of go through, not like I go through a checklist, but in my head, I ask a lot of those questions. I think some people don't. And that's what a lot of times gets kind of the hit factor in there. When you start thinking about, okay, why would this person want to sing this for the next 12 years, 20 years, 100 years, whatever,
right.
why would this be fun in the studio? I always think about everybody involved and what could, what would this turn somebody on, whether it's a lyrical thing, a melodic thing, a production thing, whatever it is, what's the special element here that would make this stand out? And I really try to chase that.
Yeah. And it's worked. I'm looking down here and I can't even believe I'm counting 1, 2, 3. You have 7 current singles right now. Is that correct?
I honestly don't know.
Oh Lord. Well, yeah, I think you do.
No, that could be true. Yeah. And
no, I mean, that's crazy, man.
I mean, really, it's the only way to have, the success that I've been, fortunate to have is because I like so many different types of music and different vibes of songs. So the only way to have that, a lot of number ones in a year or a lot of hits at the same time is to write a lot of different kinds of songs, especially the way songs now is different. You got somebody's song, that's the whole year. They're working that record for a year, which is crazy compared to when I first moved to town. It would be like 12 weeks and they get to go to the next one. So that has also changed the way I write it because, I think used to it'd be like, well, this have a great spot on a record and this could be a single. It could maybe fill this slot. But now it's like, I want to have the one that stands out that they, is worthy of being worked for a year, somebody playing this out for, 2 years just to try to get it up the chart and where people won't get tired of it. So there's a couple new elements like that, I think, that have been introduced with how slow radio moves right now, where it's like, okay, is there a burn factor? Like, do I want to hear this a million times? Or would I just want to play it for somebody to be like, that's a cool song, So I think that is a different goal I have.
What are the different elements involved in that? I've never thought of that, but you're absolutely right. It's going to go for 40 weeks or what, 35, 50 weeks?
Oh, I had one. I mean, there's been songs that go for 60 weeks, I think.
Okay. Yeah.
The song that was my 50th went for 50 over a year,
wow. And you're right. That's a new phenomenon.
Conceived and given birth in that amount of time, and had a kid running around. So it's a long time. And I also feel the artist paying in that. So I always want to make it extra special if I know they're going to have to stand behind it for that long. So a lot of that is melodic. Like, are there enough little melodic turns and little things where, like, kind of like you watch a TV show. If it's a TV show you can watch over and over and over, or if it's something you want to see once and then never see it again. So I always aim for those shows and movies that you can watch 9 or 10 times and maybe see something different. Oh, I didn't know this lyric meant this the first 150 times I heard it, or I didn't realize this melody was as catchy, or it's just lots of little things, whether it's an outro lick, a pre-chorus that's a little more melodic than it had to be, rhythmic things that are really repeatable that you just don't get tired of. Again, there's no exact science for that, but I do write with those things in mind. Would I get tired of hearing this song after a week?
I had never thought of that, man. That's a great observation, because it affects everyone, the program directors, the radio people, the people that are listening. They're all involved in how long that record's going to be there and what's going to happen with it.
I never want to be the song that the artist has to do in their set that they're like, oh, here we go again, and I know those are out there, and I probably have some of those, honestly, that people are tired of playing, but I try to aim for, picturing them 10 years from then still being energized, a little bit of a timeless quality to it, where I think it'll work, and I also write like that, especially back several years ago when country got kind of more rhythmic, more melodic, then I would think, okay, let's push the envelope enough to where this still feels fresh if you hear it, 7-8 years from now. Always trying to do something new, something familiar and something new, in the song, where it's like, oh, this sounds like I've known it my whole life. And then also it sounds like I've never heard it before, which sounds weird, but
no, that's another great, we got to stop on that one. That's another great writing note.
Yeah.
I've never heard that said that way. And it's great. You need traditional, familiar, especially in country, you need those familiar elements.
Yeah.
But you do need something new. You need them both.
Yeah, so it's like movies or TVs or books. It's like, okay, so the good guy is going to beat the bad guy, or the guy's going to get the girl. But what makes this, a little bit better? What makes the plot, what's the twist? What's the emotion in the song that you haven't heard before?
Right.
I was taught that too. I was really mentored really well because I interned at publishing companies, for years, and then worked at a great publishing company at Hamstein Music when they were just crushing it, as an independent. I had great writers over there, Tom Spiro, Tony Martin.
Yep.
All those guys, I would get to hear the work tapes through the wall, and I would always pick out that, from those songs, there seemed to be one different little emotion. Maybe it's like jealousy in this song, or it's like, I don't know, just some kind of different emotion. And there's writers right now that are really, really good at that. Just tapping into a slightly different emotion, or a slightly different, way to say something. So I'm always trying to reach for that and have like a good repeatable money line in there. Once a lot of times I've written a song around, whether I say it or one of the co-writers say it, if I feel like it's a really sticky line in a chorus, maybe not even the title, but just that one line that you can hear everybody kind of yelling and singing along to. Like, I'm always trying to find a couple of those, drop a couple of those in there.
Another great note, man. Man, your analytical skills are off the chart. I'm starting to get a feel here of what's going on. Okay. Yeah, that little bit when you hear a new song and it's just sort of dove down quickly into a little bit different of an emotion that you hadn't heard expressed before.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's a thrill. It's a thrill when you hear it, and it's something to sort of hang on to the song. And, again, it's like writers should go out there and, try to find those things that people haven't said or done or talked about.
Yeah. We spend significantly more time in a session doing that than actually just like trying to correctly compose the song, if that makes sense, and if there's not, if that's not in there, then we'll try to add that somehow, and the best songs, sometimes it's just a right down the middle, you got it. But we always try to put a couple of those little lines in there, even when it's like, hey, we're going to circle up in a field and party, what are you saying in there that I haven't heard before? What's a little flip,
Right.
Whether I come up with it or somebody else does. We had a song that Chris Lane had number one on that I wrote with Hunter Phelps, Jameson Rogers, and Hardy called "I Don't Know About You," and that title is just, that's an okay title, But
Sure.
the flip on it, once we figured out the flip to kind of get into that song, tell me everything till there's nothing I don't know about you. I was like, okay, that's cool. I haven't heard it like that. But then once Hardy and those guys had the line about what's your wrist tattoo Bible verse say, or there's some, I don't even remember what the line is, but there's something in there. I was like, oh, that I've never heard that like that. That's going to be like the line,
Right.
you know? And then I was
Right.
like, okay, that just makes it sound like a hit, because he's just talking to a girl at a bar, like
Right.
5,000 other songs. But you got to, if you're going to do that, that's fine. But what are you saying in there that, that hasn't been said exactly that way? And that carried that whole song, to me.
Yeah. And it's also setting up that it's a fantasy scenario that the listener kind of wants to plug themselves into, just like a movie. When we could go to the movies, there was a new movie every weekend.
Right.
It's really the same movie. It's like
Yep.
toothpaste. It's like new and improved. And
Right.
music's like that too. It's really the same type of stories, but you just have to go find those new elements,
Yes. Yeah. That's
find those new
great.
elements.
That's a great way to say it. So we always kind of strive for that. And that's a cool thing about country too. Reason I love country music is because it's a little more reality. I always think of like a lot of pop music is like superhero movies, and fantasy, and then country you have to actually get to do the reality. So you can actually say exactly the way you grew up, and maybe it's something that you think only you did, and then you find out millions of other people did it too. There's a Blake Shelton song. They got number 2, unfortunately, not number 1, called "I Lived It."
I know
And
that song.
that came
Great
from,
song.
Red Akins, Ben Hayslip, Ross Copperman, and myself. I mean, me and Ben and Rhett were just talking about things, the way we grew up, kind of just saying lines like on voice memo and just kind of talking and recording it. And then that turned into a writing session. And I was like, oh, I didn't know anybody else did this. We have some crazy stuff in there. Like you have to, either you experienced it or you got to Google it, like I always like to put stuff in there where, like, I'm never afraid to put a line in there that maybe some people don't know what it is, like rap's really good at that, I think, where they'll say something. It's like, what is that? And then it makes you almost want to look up,
Right.
what it is. And then it's awesome, So I love that about country, that you can just be that authentic and say things that, maybe you only think you're going through, or only your family did these crazy things. And then you find out everybody did, that's always a cool thing.
I love what you're saying. It's great advice. We have a lot of people listening to the podcast are writers. A lot of them are starting out their writing, or maybe just moved to town, or maybe thinking about moving to town. They're going to love this. I did have you already touched on it a little bit, but I had it on my list of questions. So you worked at a couple publishing companies, right? Out of
I
college?
interned at like 6. I mean, I got some weird intern award at Belmont because I wouldn't stop interning. I like broke the system, did it as a freshman, whatever, because I just wanted to know what it was. Once I took a publishing class, which I didn't even know what that word meant, then I was pretty obsessed with that. And I knew I wanted to be a publisher just as long as I knew I wanted to be a writer. And that's another unique thing. Like, it wasn't like an afterthought of like, oh, I should sign some writers to make extra money. It was always a goal of mine to have a company and to run it, because there's not enough time in the day to get all the stuff in my head out. And I was always honest with myself about like, hey, I'm not going to write everything. Like, I want to get people that can say more things that I would never think of, and mentor
Right.
them. I always wanted to be mentored. I always wanted to be mentored and be mentoring somebody at the same time. I think that's a really good place just in life in general, where you're learning from somebody and you're teaching somebody, and that keeps it all fresh, So I've got a lot of guys and girls now that, are writing better stuff than I am. And I get to hear all those songs. And I'm like, oh gosh, I've never heard that. That's amazing. So I'm going to send that to so-and-so. Like, I love now the phase of life I'm in. I probably get more satisfaction out of getting one of these writers to have a hit, than getting one myself. And that's a really good place for that. I think that's been the key to the whole thing. I have to be doing like 10 things at once to be doing anything. And that's kind of the good place for me to be in, to be listening to other writers' songs, producing a little bit, writing a little bit, playing a little bit, just everything kind of at once. And it keeps me learning. I get to hear a lot of new songs, some of our writers, and the writers are doing so amazing that we have. And like I said, are saying stuff that I would never think of. And that's just fun to be able to be a part of those songs too, as a publisher, and send, best song wins. And sometimes we send 3 songs to somebody, I'm not on any of them, and that's totally fine. So that process, I think, helps, keep things fresh and keep things new. And I'm obsessed with New Music Friday and what's the next thing somebody's going to put out of any genre, not just country.
Right.
And just, I'm always intrigued, like, oh, what, who's going to put out a song that knocks me out, this week. And I think that's a key too, is just to be a lover of music, continue to listen to music, new music, to never think you have it figured out is kind of the place that you need to stay in.
I think you're right, because you can't actually get it figured out. Going back to you as a publisher, when you sign a new writer, do you have little things you look for when you're writer? Do you know when you meet with a writer, or can you decide pretty quick if you're going to want to work with them or not, or do you go through a dating process? How does that work for you?
Like a speed dating process? Yeah, I mean, it depends. We're batting 1,000 with our writers right now. I never wanted to sign 50 writers and hope 2 of them work. If I'm going to I'm very hands-on, so I'm actually listening to the songs they turn in, having a meeting, I talk to Blaine Rhodes and Kelly Bolton who work at Tape Room daily, so I probably drive them crazy because there's always more goals and we got to get this, we got to get so-and-so in with this person. It would be perfect. And just finding those matches. So yeah, they're, we get pitched writers a lot, or writers come by. Some of them are amazing. Like there's been writers that we've turned down that I knew were going to get hits, and then they go on and get hits. It just might not be, that they're the right fit. Right. Yeah. And I'm not great at I'm a basketball junkie too. So I like coaching high school ball, maybe a little college, not like pro. So if somebody's already a complete veteran writer and they've kind of arrived and they think, well, I'm just going to keep doing what I do, then we're not great at working with them. I love taking.
You like to develop people, help people.
Absolutely. And then my whole goal is, I was in town for 11 years before I had a hit, 7 years out of college, and I'm trying to help them cut that 7-year window down to a year, as quick as I can. And I think we're able to do that and play them songs. Like today, I've got writers coming in after I do this, just to kind of set goals for the new year, and I'll play songs and they'll play me songs, and we'll just critique them and kind of. I look at it like coaching, so that's really fun because I know they're going to come in with some great stuff and some stuff that's not great. And we're very honest about that. If you talk to the writers, it's definitely like, hey, nobody cares about any of these songs. I got to have something that somebody can dig their teeth into, not in a mean way, but in a very honest way. And I think that's important out of the gate, instead of just being like, killer, this is great, this is awesome, this is a smash. It's like, this is close, but it didn't really, you didn't really get there, and this is why, So we get really involved in that. And I think that's really important for our writers, and it's been a good scenario, for them, I think, along the way.
I think it's a great thing to teach them, because you have to be able to analyze your stuff. If you can't do that, you can't get them any better. Yeah,
and we don't really work with anybody that shuns that, because it just wouldn't be a good marriage there. So our writers know, and it may take a little while. They may come in and be like, dude, this is a smash. Send this to Thomas Rhett. And I'll hear the song and I'll be like, okay, so if Thomas Rhett walked in right now, you would sit down at the board and play this over the speakers and tell him he should put this out over everything he's written and over everything in town. And they'll be like, maybe not.
Right.
Well, once we get one of those, then I'll send it to him. And that is just a quick learning curve, because there's no JV, in songwriting, or there's no,
that's right.
There's no G League or whatever you want to call it. You're up against the pros from the day you move to town. And that's really difficult, a difficult thing to learn and realize. And so I think the sooner that, not to be, you still got to write, and I don't ever put anybody in a corner where they feel like they can't succeed, but you definitely kind of introduce them quickly to the competition and know what they're up against, and also tell them they can do it, so it's a good combination. The success story, I mean, mine is, I didn't know anybody in town. My parents aren't in the business. I didn't know anybody in Tennessee when I moved here. So it can be done, so you give them the motivation and just the proof that, hey, if you work your butt off and if you're great, then these will get heard. They'll work, you'll have a hit. And also, but it also is really, really tough at the same time. And so are you putting, did you go home too early today? What are you doing tomorrow? Why are you taking a day off? It's like, it is a work hard, play hard kind of environment, put in the work and you get to celebrate. And so all our writers are very much on. They love that, and they're not afraid to work and tweak and change things and go in. So I think that's really, really key, is not to get married to what you have in a song and be like, oh, this is perfect, and be open to criticism and stuff. So they're all very open to that, thankfully. And I love to, provide that and to try to pull the best out of them.
Well, they're getting an invaluable education. I mean, it's hard to find all that in one spot. That's really incredible. Thanks for listening, everybody. Pitch List will be right back. And it is, I think it's great for younger writers to hear. I mean, I always say it, but if you drive down by Big Loud Shirt at, say, 7:00 on Friday night,
right,
you're probably going to see Wiseman's car out there.
Right.
And it's not like he needs another hit, right?
No,
I'm guessing you're the same. It's like you have to work, right?
We even strategically chose, like, we rent the top floor of the Smack building. Obviously, Shane McAnally is amazing. Him and Josh Osborne are in there, and they're, I mean, some of the best I think that have ever done it. And then across the street, you've got Big Loud, who are just crushing it. And so it's like, hey, even in the building, like, you can't even park at our building and not feel challenged and be like, oh shoot, just on this block, I've got to really step up today to even get a song that anybody cares about. And so we love even that physical location of just seeing what all's going on there. And like you said, seeing Craig's car over there and seeing Seth England working nonstop, and them having built that label, and Hardy and everybody that's over there coming up, and then Shane and Josh and everybody they've got there too. Just in that one little, across the street space, you realize, that there's a lot of potential there, that you can do it because these guys have done it, but also that they're trying to do it that day too. So I think it's a healthy, competitive kind of, step up your game vibe over there.
Oh yeah, that's a pretty heavy corner of Music Row. That little intersection right there.
Right. Yeah.
There's a lot of talent sitting on those little four corners. And you mentioned Josh Osborne, who's just an incredibly talented and what a sweetheart too.
Oh, and the funniest guy in America.
Yeah, just all the way around. And I made a note here. So it was 11 years for you before your first hit, right?
Well, from when I moved, I'm counting
when you
4 years
at college. Yeah. So maybe 7.
I had 7 years with a deal. That's with a deal, like being good enough to actually have a deal. And
Josh was 12, I think.
Right. Yeah. We're very similar stories.
Yeah.
We actually wrote, I think I was even still in college. We did like a song or two just on a random blind date, right? We were both, no good, you know what I mean? But kind of we're after the same kind of thing. So I've known him forever, and I know he's Music Row, whatever songwriter. I mean, he has more songs out than anybody right now. He's so good. And I love being around all those people, and I'm really supportive. I love sending a text or calling and being like, dude, this is like the best thing I've ever heard. Like, I'm definitely not afraid to do that. I don't get mad about that. I love, I want to have the song out, but when I get, beat by some of those guys, then it's like, dang, they're just so good. I'm so like impressed and enthralled with everything that they're doing too. So I think that's a healthy way to kind of keep it all going. Right.
So you're competitive, but you love the people around you and you respect the work they do and you feel inspired by it.
I want to work with them, So
but you also are very competitive, right?
Yes. Yeah.
You couldn't not be competitive.
No, correct. Opinion. Yeah. I want to win a, board game. If we're playing sequence, I want to win. Or if we're playing a Super Mario with my, daughter on Nintendo or something, I want to win that too. It's just fun to win.
Right.
Not in an unhealthy way, but if we're playing a pickup basketball game, or if I'm trying to write somebody's song, I do love the feeling of getting your song chosen and thinking that you did the job. Like, I do like that. Like, okay, I got this artist, an impactful, not just like a number one, whatever, that happens to get up there somehow, but something that holds a place in their top, top chest of drawers there for their songs. That's a really satisfying thing to me. So that's why it's less, money based and less statistic, even if the stats are there, less statistic based. I never was like, oh, I'm going to hope I get this many songs or get in this club or whatever the thing is. I just always wanted to you know, do an A+ job for whatever. And I think that's just a work ethic, and all those guys have that, you know. So like you said, there is a definitely winning is fun, however you define it. When we have a writer, you know, we had Matt Jenkins out of Blake Shelton, #1, and I don't have anything on Blake, you know, this time around, but that song was perfect. So for that song to come out, which he actually wrote with Josh and Ross, so I love that satisfaction of being like, oh yes, like, you know, one of our writers had a hit. They picked that song. They actually put it out and made it all the way. Like that whole process is still magic to me. It never gets old. Like the process from the writing room or studio all the way to the radio and all the way to the show and to the, you know, award show.
Do you know when you're in the writer's room, do you have a pretty good idea when you're done if you're going to get that song cut, if it's going to be a hit or, you know, a single?
Yeah, well, different questions, I guess. It's funny because people have asked me before, because some people do say like, oh, I have no idea. And I'm not that way. I think I do have an idea of like, when I'm in there, I'm like, this is actually huge. Now, sometimes I'll leave the room and say like, I don't know if somebody will put that out. I don't know if it'll get there, but if they do, I think it'll work. And that's about all I can do. Cause you know, something can happen. You can put out a song, a love song, and then you know, they break up the next day. That's out of your hands, you know, whatever the situation kind of changes. But I do take pride in thinking, you know, when I really think I have something, and a lot of times I don't think that, you know, even if the song's good, I don't think it's like a mega hit or smash or whatever, but I do have a good sense about like, hey, I think this could be big if we get on something like that.
Have you been surprised by a song before that you didn't think much about and then turned out to be big? I won't make you say a title.
Not completely shocked. I mean, sometimes that probably sounds bad, but like, you know, sometimes you have a song and it's a new artist, so you don't know.
Right.
You know, like if you have a song that you're pitching for Blake, and then Frankie Ballard cut it, and I was like, oh shoot. And then all of a sudden the cut comes back and you hear it and you're like, oh my gosh, I didn't know this was like, this sounds amazing. This could actually be a hit. And then it comes out and then it becomes a #1. Like there's some scenarios like that that have happened that are really, you know, that are really cool. Or where you write a song with an artist and at the time he doesn't have anything going. And then, you know, 2 years later, it's like they're killing it. And then all of a sudden you get the second single. Like those scenarios happen. But again, I think in the room right then we do love what we're doing, and we think it has potential, or we wouldn't finish it.
Right. No, yeah, exactly. It's like most writers like their songs, or they wouldn't have done it or finished them.
Yeah. Like the I Lived It song on Blake that I talked about a minute ago. Yep. Like I didn't think that sounded like a single. It was just a real raw kind of demo work tape thing, and it was very personal. And then that became a single. So yeah, that's happened before. I'm like, oh, I didn't know they would pick that. Or like I'm surprised by a single choice, and then I'm like, oh, actually that makes sense, or something, or more than that, something that I think is a no-brainer hit, and then it dies at 40. So that happens too. So you got to have the thick skin for that. So different scenarios and promotion things start to play into it. You can't control that, so we just control everything that we can.
Well, let me ask you this question.
Definitely.
What percentage of your writing sessions are artists, or artists are in the room?
Well, I mean, it's changed obviously over the years. It goes from 0 to trying to earn it. That's something I think you really have to earn. That's one thing I tell our new writers too, where they're like, well, hey, let's get a day with Carrie Underwood. And I'm like, dude, in order to do that, I had a single on her, I had her second single. That was my first #1. And then because I had that hit, I got 1 day with her, for the next album. That day we wrote a #1. And then after that, after a few years, then it started to be where I can work with that artist a little more regularly. But it's just something I never take those days for granted. Now it may be half and half, I'd say.
Okay.
Half the time where we're just trying to write the best thing in the room, and then half the time very much targeted, and then some sessions are like, say the artist isn't there, but we're trying to write something we think Morgan Wallen would love.
Right.
Then those are days too. So yeah, it's probably like, even if you listed whatever hits I've had, it's probably half and half as far as songs written with the artist and then songs that were outside songs. So that balance, I think, keeps happening more and more. I love getting in with the artist because then I can hear their story, hear what's going on, and it helps. I love having a target if possible, but some days it's really fun. I wouldn't want to do it I wouldn't want it to be 10-0, the other way. I like having days where we're just aiming and brainstorming, and I love doing the camps with artists too. So it's probably half and half now, these, as far as my calendar.
And I know we're kind of in a different thing with the Zoom writing now, but are you pretty prolific? I mean, do you write 5 days a week? Is that typical for you,
Yeah.
or twice a day, or do you write a lot of songs? Or
I used to, there was a time I would do, like 2 full sessions a day. You know what I mean? I would try to go 9 to 1 and then 1 to 5 or whatever.
Wow.
Now I try not to do 2 completely different sessions, but a lot of times I'll get 2 songs in that session and just keep the focus. I like that better than just bouncing like crazy. But yeah, I would say I write. I mean, this past year I wrote more songs than I have in several years, in 2020, which sounds strange, but there's so many artists trying to write and so many people, what else are you going to do?
Right.
And so this year was really, really good for us as a company, really bad. I mean, my family got COVID, and it was a dark time there for a while.
Oh, Lord.
A couple months ago. But even in that, when we were quarantining and say we're in Florida, then all of a sudden, I feel like we tapped back into a thing that I was doing when we first started writing, which is get on the phone with people and brainstorm, or like writing a session at 8 a.m. or doing a session at 10 p.m. and just like going for it,
Mm-hmm.
So there's something magic about all that, and it coming back to the, purity of just writing and talking with your buddies and new writes and things like that. So yeah, I have to, in order for me to have success, I have to write a ton of songs.
You have such good advice, because you just have to let go of that idea of, oh my God, we're on the song, this is it.
Also, what happens to me a lot, and in several of like the hits or number ones, happen where we're writing one song and then somebody has like a verse line that's really good.
Yep.
And I'm like, that should be a whole other song.
Yes.
That happens like more times than I can count, where it's like, push pause on that song,
Mm-hmm.
Go back and write, the entire song based on this other concept that just popped out, and then go back to the first song and finish it too. So I'm never afraid to be like, okay, hold on a minute, hold that whole thought we've been working on for 4 hours, and let's write a whole song with the title you just said. That's happened, several times. Happened on a Cole Swindell song that we were writing. Both songs ended up getting recorded, but the hit was the one where we pushed pause. Somebody said the line with middle of a memory in there. It was just part of a verse of this other song. It's still in the other song. And then we wrote a whole song based on that concept, and that ended up being the big hit, of the day.
Wow.
Seldom is it like, here's an idea, go, I'm done, I'm going home. It's usually like, kind of really digging. More often than not, it's just continuing to dig and start and changing it from a ballad to an up tempo and just trying all kinds of different stuff until you find that magic, like you were talking about. That's kind of
I'm always looking for this feeling,
Yeah.
And if until I get that feeling, I'm just going to be, like you said, I'm going to be bouncing off I'll make it fast, slow, change the keys, whatever I can do. I got to get that feeling, because when you get that feeling, man, it's just pure joy. I mean, it just writes itself, and it's not.
That's what makes it worth it. Yeah, that's what makes it worth it for sure. And that's why I love doing it, because I know that feeling is, it could happen today at 2:00, or it might not, or tonight at midnight. And like you said, you have to give yourself time to find that. And a lot of times I don't think that happens in the first hour of, the first idea that gets thrown out there. Even I remember a couple of weeks ago, I was working with Jordan Davis on something, and it was probably, 4:30 by the time that somebody said an idea that I thought sounded like a hit. And we'd worked on good songs until then, even songs we think could be hits. And then we had to throw those away and chase the new thing. Like you said, it just wasn't giving you the vibes. It wasn't giving me or us or him. He's good at knowing too. These artists are great writers. And you can just tell, you're looking at them, they're singing it back. It's like, all right, this is kind of mechanical. This is not doing anything. Let's bounce and chase something different.
Do you usually walk in cold, or do you come in with things sometimes, titles or pieces of music?
If I don't, then I try to write with people that do. Like I'm running low right now on my, been doing it so long that I love writing with people that I think would have fresh ideas. And then a lot of times they'll say an idea and it'll make me think of an idea. So I have to work with people that aren't afraid to say bad titles and lines. Kind of like the unwritten rule is just like, hey, say everything you're thinking. Like, just go say it out loud. I don't do really well with people that are really quiet and then say like a whole verse. You know what I mean?
I do know what you mean. I'm
written
not
with those
fond of
people.
it myself.
I've had hits with those people, but I'm like, dude, say what you're thinking, because what if
Yeah.
you said that and then I thought of this whole other thing, you know? So just like, even if it's dumb, say it. And so those are the most comfortable situations where
Yeah.
nobody's afraid to, you know, even if it's just like a noun, you know, you can say, what about a song called Car
Yeah.
or T-shirt or whatever, which has happened, where like we literally just say things we see around the room, and then what could that be about? And then start thinking, you know,
That's so great.
You know,
That's so great. Yeah, I've had that happen when you write with someone, and everyone has their own process, but they want to sit there for literally like 45 minutes and work out a whole verse on their own.
Yeah.
And man, I'm just under the table, man. I hate that.
Yeah, I don't do that.
I don't care for it either, because it's like either I'm going to wait and then see what you've got, or I really don't want to go off on my own because I don't know what, I mean, it's horrible.
And some guys are brilliant that do that.
Oh, I know.
But that's not going to be the most fun vibe for my
No,
day,
I'm with you.
Because for me, it has to be fun, which sounds funny to say, but
no, it's
hard work.
Key.
If I ever start doing it and I'm not having a good time doing it, then I'll duck out, you know?
I don't think it'll be good. I don't think you write good stuff if you're not, I don't think you could do some great work if you weren't fulfilled. Maybe you're not having the word fun there's some scenarios I can think of, but still you should be enjoying it, or it's not going.
I mean, sometimes, or maybe you're enjoying the song, but then that second verse, or there's one line that takes hours to get. Right. And even in a weird way, that's kind of fun too, you know, just like until you hit that target. And so, I really enjoy the process. I can't imagine not doing it, regardless of how many hits or whatever, just as long as I feel like I have something to bring to the table.
Would you say, and I've talked to a lot of successful people who are this way, and I think it's key, that's why I want to say it. Would you say you would do this even if you weren't being paid for it?
Yeah, that's always a funny question, because yes,
maybe not full time, and we all have kids and we'd have to take care of our kids, but I mean, you'd still be doing it.
I enjoy, or if I thought I would get paid and had to give the money away, like that would be fine too. I love, you know, the money and the hit. Those are just good carrots, you know, for me, that are kind of dangling out there. I don't like wake up, like if I have a day off, or if I'm on a trip with the family or whatever, I can definitely turn it off.
Right.
You know, but then again, if I'm here conversation, if we're out, you know, walking around in Europe, or who knows what we're doing, and something sparks an idea, I'm definitely going to go duck in a corner and do a little 10-minute voice memo. I mean, that happened a lot when we were quarantining. We've got a place down on 30A. There's a couple songs that are coming out soon where, you know, we're playing cornhole with a bunch of people at 10 o'clock at night, and something just hits me and I just go record it right then. And then the next day I'm calling people like, hey, somebody jump on this, you know, tell me what to do with this. I think this is something special. And so I'm always kind of thinking like that, you know, and thinking throughout the night and whenever, you know, but they're always little scraps, and I just try to find good situations to put it together. So, yeah, I mean, generally speaking, I think I would still do it. I feel like I'll always work in it, whether I'm the guy writing the song or whether I'm putting together good camps and I'm kind of overseeing it, or I'm kind of ducking my head in if my writer's been working on something 2 or 3 hours and try to throw in a little advice, or just getting to listen to it. I just want to be around it in all phases, anytime I can. You know, the more things like that I can touch, then the better off I am.
Because you love it.
I love it. Yeah.
It's fantastic. And so that was one of my last questions I had. I mean, you're young, man. You're going to put up numbers, if it were basketball, that are going to be tough to ever beat. It's crazy, man. I'm saying congratulations. I mean, it's unbelievable.
But the cool thing is, I've got this magical scenario where I'm getting to transition into like player coach.
Right.
Now that's what like makes the burnout not happen for me. So, you know, if I don't have a great song for Kane Brown, but I've got a writer that does, and I can help them, you know, finish it, even if I'm not on the song, just help them be like, ooh, what if y'all tried this? Or even trying to get, you know, also love the matchmaking part of this thing. You know, as a publisher at Tape Room, what Blaine and Kelly are amazing at is finding like, you know what, I think if these 3 people got together and aimed for this, something magical would happen. And that's happened several times. I think introducing this new person with this artist and me would be great. It would bring something new to the table, something fresh. So we always try to keep it, keep it new and fresh. I don't do like regular dates with people or anything like that. I've never been one to do that. Even if we're successful at it, because I never want it to just be a routine. I want it to be something different all the time. So my schedule's all over the place, and I like it that way, But yeah, if we're not doing that, then we're thinking like, all right, we could put this out on this artist, or we could actually make this whole record and do this, or find this new writer, or do this deal, or whatever. So I love kind of hitting on all cylinders, from the business side to the creative side and everything in between.
Awesome, man. I have written that. Well, Amy, I had asked Amy for a question or two for you too. She wanted to know, do you have a handful of your absolute favorite songs?
Yeah,
maybe not even songs that were as big a hit as other songs.
Right. Like I Lived It is one of my favorites. Always, my first like really, really big song that was like single of the year or whatever it was You're Gonna Miss This.
Yeah.
Trace Atkins. And that's been a while now. It makes me feel
that's a great one.
So that's always going to be one of my favorites because it actually happened. So it came from a real story,
right?
Where the repair guy came over and that bridge was like an actual thing that turned into a reality. And so if that song comes on, then it's literally about my kids. And I think that's fun. It's fun for them to be able to kind of own that and the effect that song had. So I'll always kind of lean on that one. There's songs like Marry Me, Unforgettable, that we wrote on the same trip with Thomas Rhett, that were really great impact songs. And that one was really fun because, Thomas and Lauren are like this perfect couple, all in love. And it was really fun to write a song about the anti that, you know what I mean? About him, her being with somebody else and you looking at it the other way. So anything unexpected like that from an artist, I think is really fun. Remember You Young was a really special one. That was an emotional one when we wrote that on the bus late one night and reworking that whole song. Like we completely tore it down and went a different way with it. And that was really cool. But also, it's funny because like sometimes it's usually people think of ballads or sentimental songs, but there's songs like That's My Kind of Night, Luke Bryan, one of my favorite co-writes of all time. And people, obviously people thought either one way or the other about that song when it came out. But I was really proud. I was really proud of like pushing the envelope a lot with that song, like that song or T-Shirt or some of these songs that I think introduced like some different rhythms and different, melodic things that were just so fun in the right. A lot of the Luke stuff in that Crash My Party era, I'm proud of, like Play It Again and, Crash My Party. Those kind of songs right there that I feel like just really helped, take him to the stratosphere. It's fun to be a part of those songs that kind of just get somebody, and then you get to go to the show and hear 2 or 3 of them in a row and everybody's singing them. Those kind of anthens are really fun for me.
That's career songs for guys.
Yeah, career songs. Or like Dirt on My Boots was one,
and
that was like up for song. Obviously didn't win. I've never won like Song of the Year to CMA thing or anything like that. I don't get all the votes at those things, but that one was really fun because that song, we literally just wrote it. I didn't even know John Party took outside songs. Blaine Rhodes, who works for me right now, was like, hey, I'm going to pitch this to John Party. I'm like, oh, will he even take outside? I didn't even think about him at the time. And then he cut the record very different from the crazy demo we did on it, and they just nailed it. And I was like, God, this sounds amazing. I mean, they really tailored it so much to him, and it became a big song for him. And I still love the magic of – I love working with artists, but I love when you create a song and then it just finds its way to the exact right home, sounds perfect, and becomes a career song for that person. I love that. That's like the magic in the process, I think, that I love the most. But all those songs. There's a song, Chase Rice, Eyes on You, that did really, really well for him. And we were so dead set on trying to write a hit. And that song's special because like it kind of is the demo, like what you hear on the radio is just the first time I sat down and played I was like, oh, this would be a cool riff. And they just kept it, on the piano. So I get to hear it and be like, oh, that's me playing piano. That's cool. And anytime I have an artist like first number one or like a career song, like you're saying, then that I really love that and get satisfaction from that. So I would say all those songs, they all kind of have their special place, but a lot of it's the story or the scenario or the co-writer or a great friend helping them, have their success. So I love some of those writings, some of the Carrie hits. The stories are really fun
Well, and there's such a wide variety of songs you have. I mean, some of them are heartfelt and can make you cry. You have a lot of songs that are tempo, and for my money, that's harder to write than
It
anything.
is. Yeah. Yeah.
I think now
Yes.
maybe I'm different, but I don't think I am. Don't you think? I think
Oh,
writing
100%.
a tempo song that's not goofy, that works, but that can be fun is one of the hardest things there is to do.
Yeah. It's the biggest challenge. I mean, if you can write a song about nothing, which I've done a few times, and it be a hit, I think
Hmm.
that's really, really a fun thing to aim at. And especially, yeah, definitely. I tell new writers all the time, or if I'm doing a panel or something, um, that, hey, I could probably write a breakup ballad on a piano pretty quick. But for somebody to write something like Body Like a Back Road, like I wanted that to win Song of the Year,
Hmm.
because it's
Yeah.
so hard to land on something that cool. Like you said, something that's not cheesy, but just has all these new dynamics and is like, has zero burn at all. It could come on the radio
Right.
every hour for the rest of time and nobody would complain. I think that is a special, achievement. And I didn't write that song, but got to publish it, and just seeing those kind of songs happen, I do think that's harder to
And
do.
the evidence for that is everybody needs it.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean that because it is harder. If you look at a pitch list or a pitch sheet, there it always says the same thing. Hit tempo
Yeah. Big
because it's hard to
anthems.
write. It
Yeah. They're hard to do. We're all sad souls, songwriters.
right,
So it's easy for us to go there, but to go to
right.
but to think about, 50,000 people singing along, and it actually putting them, a mood enhancer, or something that actually just makes you want to, forget about all your troubles and stuff. Those kind of songs are really fun to aim for.
Yeah, man. And something you said in the very beginning, and it's stuck with me through this whole talk. And I'm going to make sure I got it right. But you said you kind of grew up in the country, but you grew up listening to all kind of music, pop,
Yeah.
rock, probably some country. And I have a similar background myself, so that you all the cowboy stuff. I mean, you grew up.
Right. Yeah.
I had horses, and my uncle had cattle. I worked them. I did not consider myself I knew all that stuff, but I didn't listen to that music. But
Right.
I think that's a key for you, because you have all these other influences you're drawing from, but
Right.
you're completely rooted in country music as far as
Yeah.
the life of it.
Right. That's just being fortunately born in a small town, just like these songs you're talking about,
Right.
in the middle of Kentucky, where you did drive down back roads and you did go look at the stars and do all this, that stuff.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's hard. Even though that stuff sometimes seems like people start to categorize it like it's a generic thing. Like, we did that stuff. And
Right.
so we can say it in different ways, and it's hard to fake that. So I'm thankful to grow up like that, but also to grow up DJing and being really a fan of hip hop culture and R&B music and all those kind of the voicings and stuff like that I'll put in songs. I think come from being a fan of that kind of music. And I've always loved like pop music. Like, I've always appreciated singer-songwriters and stuff like that, but I've always thought that the most fun or the most impactful songs are those songs everybody in the world knows, everybody loves, that's actually is like a number one thing, or like a big, career up tempo thing. So I've always loved the impact of those songs, and the way that hip hop and R&B can make you feel, the kind of mood that it can put you in. And then putting a really, really country lyric like a That's My Kind of Night or something like that, where
Mhm.
take some of those influences and then also talk about, catching catfish.
Catfish, yeah.
So like all that stuff, even if it's funny a little bit at the time, or make somebody roll their eyes or whatever, I love the combination of that. It's almost like the crazier the music, the better, and the countrier the
Yep.
lyric, the better.
I think that's a great example. I love that song. Amy and I both love that song. You feel this sort of manic energy in it, and
Yep.
it's great.
I love that country music is so rooted in that live show experience. And it's
Yeah.
a different, so I approach it writing, from that perspective. And I think other writers, like new writers, like you said, that are listening should think about that. Go to the show, go to the shows. I think the people
Right.
that are writing the hits right now, go out there and see it. They love country. They actually, understand what's going on. And it's really fun. Right now, for me, it's fun because we can, I've got teenage kids and they want to go to these shows, and they love country, and concerts is what, they love going to those. And to be able to go and then think that I'm having a hand in that person being able to have a whole set, that they can sing and get everybody jumping up and down is fun for me.
That's awesome. Are your kids strictly country fans, or do they like?
No, no, no. I mean, everybody likes rap, right, in the world. So
Yeah, yeah. My I have teenage boys and they love rap.
my 12-year-old has my DJ equipment set up, in his bedroom because he thinks that's cool. It's so weird that I, still got to do that. I grew up when I was 12, 13, 14 doing that, like the little turntables and
Okay.
trying to mix stuff together and blend it and all that stuff. And then me and Jesse Frazier, one of my best friends, we got to open on the Thomas Rhett tour a couple of years ago as just like a little 2-man. I felt like I was 16. Like right before he goes on, we do like a set of old school hip hop and try to blend it all in together and get everybody hype and then have a great country show. So that's kind of been a full circle, doing that a couple of years ago was just like a whole full circle thing. Like I couldn't ask for it, I'm done at that point. I got to do all the stuff I love in music, all the different kinds of, traditional country mixed with really progressive stuff, and was getting to play it there live and mess up mixing and DJing and all that stuff like I was a kid again. So that was a special time for me for sure.
That's awesome, man. Yeah,
Yeah.
Jesse's well, he and Thomas Rhett, I mean, they brought a lot of that sound into country music, And
Oh yeah, songs like "Life Changes." That's is basically him rapping verses and like some kind of weird trumpet,
right.
and all this stuff. And the fact that still worked and that he could be that open and that personable.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of what makes me tick is like the challenge of, okay, what should this artist do that they haven't done before, but still their brand, but also brings in some new fans, but doesn't lose the old ones. Just that whole kind of puzzle piece. The mystery of all that is really fun when you land on it. Sometimes it's accidental. Sometimes you just nail it. But I love working. That's the good thing about getting to work with artists is just trying to get in their head. Okay, if I was this person, if I had the talent to sing like this person, could be a star, what would I want to put out? And really kind of taking on that role like an actor and jumping in and really playing the part is how I see myself.
I think that's another great note. I have one more question.
Yeah, go ahead.
I want to and then I'll let you go. I know we've talked a long time. Do you consider it valuable the time you spent interning, being at these publishing companies, watching these writers,
Yes, like the most valuable thing I've done. I mean, more than anything else, besides listening to music, like crazy. The combination of those two things, just because you get to hear, especially, and that's where the tape room music, my company, comes from. I worked in the tape room back then. We kind of graduated to CDs, but it was like, okay, you're going to get to pitch this artist probably 3 songs, maybe 1 sometimes, on a cassette or on a CD. And so it's very important what goes on there, So I was the one that would make those for like the pitch meetings. I would like, so in my head, I'm like, okay, I've heard these 100 new songs come in the last couple of weeks. Wonder why they're choosing these 2 or 3 songs to pitch to this person. Then I get to hear the demos, and then I get to see, who records what and what goes on to be hits. So, I mean, that's just like an irreplaceable learning, situation there. So I would definitely say that influenced me, the most was being able to work in that capacity and getting to hear the demos. You're getting to hear it go from work tape, terrible work tape to really good demo to amazing record to number 1 song. And then I was able to go like, okay, wow, why does this one stand out? Why is everybody pitching this one instead of these other 50 songs? So I would say that was like a great, and even when I wasn't interning there, I would have friends interning somewhere else, and we'd go over to Famous Music and listen to Daryl Scott and Hillary Lindsey songs, at 10 o'clock p.m. just to hear demos. All these songs we thought were amazing, and some of them would go on and be huge,
Yep.
And that was just really fun. I think writers do that. They all kind of go into demo jail, as we call it, where you kind of get in a situation where people are playing their songs to each other.
Yeah.
Demos, and you got to do that. You got, yeah. That's where you get in that scenario nowadays at this stage where it's funny because I don't like to do that a lot because I'm still nervous about playing my songs. But then listen to these last 20 songs I did, and I'm like, all right, and everybody just plays. So that's what we call it when it's a funny scenario and everybody's.
I love that. Yeah,
I love that. That scenario is so fun. Late night on a bus or around a fire out here. Like, man, check out this new thing we're working on. Comfortable enough with the people, and nobody's judging it. They're just excited about something they did. That's kind of the square one root of this whole thing, anyway. Is writing something that that you're really that excited about, not even knowing how it happened. Like, man, I can't believe I wrote this. How did this, how did this even come to be? I want to play it for somebody. And, listening to great songs say something I've never heard been said, or have a melody that's insane. I mean, nothing's better than that. That's kind of the high of the whole thing. Hearing something to being like, oh my gosh, this is going to be massive, whether I wrote it or not. But yeah, it's invaluable to have that experience. I think kids are in school now, at Belmont or MTSU or wherever, or not even those schools, wherever, if they can get into a publishing company or work for a writer that, has some elements that they want to be able to learn from, then there's no better place than that. If you're like the person that gets to type lyrics and enter songs into the system and hear these demos, all of a sudden you get a feel for like, oh, I think this one would be good for somebody, or I think this one is terrible, or I think, whatever. You all of a sudden you get an ear, which is take a long time to develop. So the more you can work in that and start to understand what's great versus what's good, then the better off you'll be, whether you want to be a publisher, writer, record label person, or whatever you want to be.
It's just, especially to be a commercial songwriter, it's so much more than I'm just going to write this song and then here it is world. I mean, which is, there's nothing wrong with that, but to be a commercial songwriter, it's more complicated. You can be a songwriter, or you can hopefully be a hit songwriter. And I learned the big difference in those. In the beginning, I was like, if I can get anybody to pay me where I don't have to get a real job, then I'm killing it. You know what I mean? This is amazing. This $15,000 a year is epic. And that was still my favorite thing ever, even more than having hits or winning anything, would be being able to write like songwriter on your taxes where it says occupation. That was like my job. I was so proud of that and so excited about that. I still am. I can't believe that, that's what we do for a living. And so just kind of taking that and then being like, okay, now instead of just writing a song, from 9 to 5 and all right, that's a good song and go home, understanding that, wow, that's not the gig. It's not writing songs, it's writing impactful, epic songs for these people that can change somebody's career path, change somebody's life. And that's a different task, It certainly is. Well, man, I am going to let you go. And Ashley, I really appreciate your time, man. I think you just had like really, really great things to say. And I'm sure people are going to go back through this interview multiple times to catch every little nugget you had in there, because you had a lot of them, man. So I just wanted to say congratulations. Not like you need that, but man, what a career you've had so far. I can't wait to hear what you do next. I love the player coach thing. I love that. I think it's so great. I just couldn't be more impressed with you, man. And thank you for being on the show.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that, man.
Okay.
It means a lot. Thank you.
Thanks for being on Pitch List.
Yep. Thanks.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Pitch List, produced in partnership with the American Songwriter Podcast Network. If you enjoyed today's show, please subscribe to us on Apple Podcast or your preferred listening platform. And if you want, feel free to leave us a 5-star rating and review. For exclusive content from this week's guest and more, you can visit our website at pitchlistpodcast.com or follow our social media pages on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. To hear songs written and or recorded by today's guest, check out this week's playlist by finding us on Spotify at Pitch List Podcast. Plus, don't forget to let us know on social media what songwriter, musician, or music business professional you want to hear from next. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next time.